So if you don't have that type of bankroll and you try to take that case to trial by yourself, you're basically cutting your client short. The thing that stresses me out the most of anything are clients that argue with us and don't understand why we're explaining that they have to do something or don't to do something, or why they should settle their case or why they shouldn't. Okay. And I understand, having a serious injury is a major event in most people's lives. And it's probably one of the top 10 events that a lot of them will ever go through in their whole lives, that are just big moments in their timeline. But at the end of the day, they hire us to be their counsel and to understand the laws, understand the risks, to weigh, the risk benefit analysis of moving forward, to tell them what the value of their case is, which is a really, it's an art in and of itself to kind of figure that out. And we're looking at a lot of stuff that the clients never even see or understand or pay attention to. So when we're factoring all these things in, we're factoring in, what did they tell the police officers? What did they tell the paramedics? What was reported to the ER? What is on the physical examination, which means, what's the range of movement, the range of motion for their body parts? What's on an MRI? What's on an X-ray? What's on a CT scan? How they do in deposition? How they do at the defense medical exam? We're factoring in a million things, and all the clients understand is what they have gone through. So what's really frustrating to me is when we do the best that we can and we explain to our clients, this is the situation we are in, and I'm recommending that this is what we do based on everything. And despite that, they don't want to do it. They don't listen to us. And it's kind of like going to a doctor's office and you have a doctor saying, we need to do this surgery, and you're arguing with the doctor.
I
And
think in other words, you guys are on the same team, right? So it's like a collaboration, you and the client, and it's kind of, I don't know what the word is, but it's like not nice, I guess, when the client thinks you're not with on their side or on their team, because that's what it sounds like.
yeah, they just don't understand the whole process. And look, they're not supposed to understand the process. They're not supposed to understand the medical records. They're not going to understand what happens in discovery and investigation. That's not their job. That's our job, right? That's why we're getting paid to work on these cases. And we're not just looking at their case. We're looking at all the cases we've ever done and all the experience we've done and we've had, and we're working with multiple lawyers on each one of these cases. So it's not just even us. And then beyond that, what our clients don't see is we're also reaching out and working with colleagues in this industry and other lawyers who have faced these certain things. So there's a whole multitude of things that we're taking into consideration. And so when the clients don't believe us or don't understand us, or they're not willing to kind of follow our direction, I'm trying to do the best job
For
and
them,
for them,
yeah.
100%, and so
I think it's easy for that to get lost in translation, especially when you've been a victim of something. The way that you've even said that explanation, if somebody didn't understand being an attorney or like what a settlement is, if it's their first accident, I can see how they can take it as like, why am I doing this rather than we're doing this together type thing.
yeah. And one of the things too are, we're trial attorneys, we like to go to trial. It's not cheap. It is not cheap. So as a lawyer and as a firm, we often have to kind of look at what the offer is on the table, what the cost is going to be going forward, and whether it makes sense to try to take this case to trial. And it's a lot of calculations that go into it because it is very expensive, and our clients ultimately have to pay for it out of the settlement. And there's also a lot of risk on cases where um, it's a denied liability or denied injury.
What does that mean in simpler terms?
What it means, my father used to have a saying every time we went to Vegas, and I would ask him for $100, and I would go gamble it, then I would lose it, and I'd come right back to my dad, can I get another $100? And he'd be like, why don't you gamble your own money? It's a lot easier to gamble when you're gambling with somebody else's money. Well, at the end of the day, when we take these cases, we're spending our money not time. The time is separate, right? The time we get paid if we win the case. But we are putting our hard-earned money that's already been taxed, and we're paying forward all these things that we need to do for trial. We're paying for our experts, and people don't realize how expensive each expert is. By the time your expert goes to trial, just to bring them to trial that one day, you're spending about $10,000 per expert for a day of trial. So if you bring 3 experts to trial on one day, you can basically, we might spend $30,000 on that one day.
So if you lose trial,
We've had trials with over $250,000 into the case to go to trial where we lose.
and what happens to your money?
It's gone. It's like rolling the dice in Vegas, and I
And what happens
lost.
to the client?
We lose if we lose the case, we lose the case, right? And
But you
it's
take a really huge loss.
as an office, we take a very large loss. We take that money that we lost that we'll never get back, we can't deduct. We also take the fact that we just spent 3, 4, or 5 years working on a case with over 1,000 hours into it of attorney time. And that, think about all the business opportunity that we lost by doing that. We shut down our office basically for trials. And so it's a huge loss. I mean, it's a major, major loss.
Like all you
And
ask is for the cooperation so that you have the highest chance of winning trial.
right.
You're putting your actual money. I wish if I mean, I guess this is great because when people see this, they'll understand in a different light because the terms like, you know, a lot of people don't even know that attorneys pay out of pocket. I didn't know that until I worked here, so, that's something that's that doesn't get discussed enough.
Yeah, and look, we have to judge a case based on how successful we think the case can be. And not every single case should go to trial. A lot of cases, the risk is too high, and those cases should settle. And other cases should go to trial, or they can get to trial and then they can settle. But less than 1% of cases goes to trial, in a firm that goes to trial. There's a lot of firms out there that never take cases to trial, that they settle every single case. And not every case is a winner. Any trial lawyer that says that they've won all their cases is probably trying cases that are going to be winners walking in. You know, um, Most trial attorneys have lost a lot of cases.
Most good ones, you think?
Some of the best trial attorneys in this entire country have lost lots of cases. You know, um, Sometimes we will fight these cases and we'll invest our money and we'll go down with the ship because it's for a good cause, or we really love our clients and we believe in our clients and we want to try to make a difference. And sometimes it's just not in the cards. You know, there's a lot of cases like that where we know the risk going in. We know we're probably going to lose, but we're like, this is such a good person that needs our help. We're going to go try. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
So I think to kind of close this out too, I think it's kind of important. I mean, if you had to give advice to some fellow attorneys out there that want to become trial attorneys, since it is such a big risk and a big investment, what would you want to say to them?
Well, I think that's pretty simple, actually.
Okay.
When I first started trying cases that got bigger and more expensive, I partnered up with other firms and other lawyers that were better suited to take those cases, because you do need to have the resources to go to trial, and you need that kind of money. You need to be able to drop $200,000 to $300,000 on a single case that's with big injuries to be able to successfully go to trial. So if you don't have that type of bankroll and you try to take that case to trial by yourself, you're basically cutting your client short. You're cutting yourself short because you're never going to be able to get the result that you want. So what I did is I partnered up with other firms who had been doing this longer, who had been very successful, and I went to trial with some of those lawyers, and they bankrolled the case for me. And that's what a lot of firms that are trial firms will do. They'll bankroll those cases. They'll come in, they'll help you try the case. And through that process, you'll learn how to do it. And if you're successful in those cases, I was very successful in some of those cases myself, it gave me the nest egg that I needed to start trying these cases on my own. So
That's really cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. How do you feel?
I feel good.
That's really good. I think you did really great. All right, we're going to end it here. Thank you.
Alrighty.